are you doing?
Oh my
I
god.
don't even know what's going on.
Cancer. Okay, Cancer, what do we have for you? So the first card that I've got for you is the Ace of Pentacles. And this is very, very good news for you. So the Ace of Pentacles is all about, oh, it's getting warm. It's all about a great time to initiate. Obviously, it's a pentacle, so it's something that has to do with the physical world, manifesting in the material world. It's all about the physical, so it's a good time to use your body, stay in your body, feel. Yeah, don't feel your body. That you know what I'm saying, but it's a good time to really take care of the physical form. So anything you want to do to improve your physicality is great, but I want to state the obvious that for the people that like to go under the knife and all that, this is not the time. Okay. Mercury retrograde, depending on what you're doing, of course, your natal chart and your transiting astrology is everything, but this is Mercury retrograde, and I'm one of those people that pays attention to it because of my placements. My particular chart is all about Mercury, so my chart is ruled by Mercury. So you need to know your rising sign, you need to know your placements, but if you saw mine, you'd say Mercury, Mercury, Mercury. Everything I do is communication ever since I was a child. And I was one of those people walking at 9 months, talking at 9 months, potty trained at 9 months. And my mother was brilliant. She placed all of the books. Oh, hang on just a second. Monitoring Spirit. Sorry about that. That one was not, I could not help it. It had to have a different end. I didn't kill it. I just had to help it out another way. I gotcha. I know that's weird, but it works for me. I come from a very long line of very grounded people, even though that sounds entirely woo-woo. When I say monitoring spirit, really, it's a reference that I make. St. Michael, protect us always. So anyway, enough about me. Back to the Ace of Pentacles. So, this is a time when I was saying, what was I saying? I was saying it about the beauty things. This is not the time to go under the knife. Obviously, um, buying something that's difficult to return, like a car, that's Mercury rules moving parts. So buying something that's famously difficult to return, like a vehicle, is not something that I would necessarily advise unless you're prepared for potential problems. Now, that doesn't mean that we live our lives like a slave to the Mercury clock, but it depends. Take it as you will. So, buying a house is difficult, because depending on when you started, for example, opening an escrow during Mercury retrograde could prove annoying. But if you opened that escrow, well, enough about that. You gotta get a book and you gotta read about these things. Or not. It's kind of like feng shui. You either do or do not. You don't dibble dabble with feng shui. You either do it or you do not. And I started studying feng shui back in 1994 because of my brother. As soon as he said that to me, I was like, what? And so there goes Rita face first into all of the books. And that was during the time that we were still first uploading documents to the internet. So this is a time that you should be seeing progress regardless of Mercury retrograde, because this is a good omen. So this is a card that would tell you trust your instincts, do what you need to do. Projects that you have already implemented, you will see success with, of course, with the Pentacles, things take time, and the Ace is a seed. So this is the time to plant the seeds and or implement what you've already planned out and hopefully started before. But again, we don't live and die by the Mercury clock. It's just depending on how sensitive you are to these things and how inclined you are, that's when you would pay attention. So trust yourself. Also know that with the Ace of Pentacles, that others will be there to give you an assist, like the divine hand that reaches out from the universe to offer you this. What is that? Hang on. What is that? Um, Rely on your friends, your family, and other people that care about you will support. So that's our theme. So for our challenge, we have the Four of Swords. So this is also a good sign. So the challenge is almost knowing that you need to do something, but you're not sure what to do because you've found some level of success to where you can rest now. Of course, with the swords, probably some mental pursuit, something you've been thinking about. Makes me think about my son who's a Cancer rising, and he knows when he begins his next leg of his journey. He's very young, but he's going to also complete his master's degree very, very young. And he has worked his ass off for this, so anything that has to do with the thinking of the mind, letting the mind rest. But as a challenge, it's not resting on your laurels. Take your break and rejuvenate and get your health where it needs to be, and make sure that you're taking your vitamins and doing everything you need to do. But the challenge is sometimes with this card not falling into the trap of your mind, thinking that it's the cat is going crazy. She's playing. She does this. So anyway, she's having a good time. So maybe you have a cat. But what was I saying about the trap of the mind? Don't think that somehow you're still having to be on guard, and that you have to be ready because you still feel like there are more and more challenges coming at you. Know that the challenges have subsided. It's over. This baby. This literally is the card that indicates that the battle is over and you can rest now. The another challenge would be like, don't isolate too much because you could get stuck in your thoughts. This is also a challenge when you might feel like you need to hoard resources or hang on to every penny. I'm thinking about my son again. He's now, not now, but he will be traveling. So now he's saving up money for those next travels. She literally has the zoomies, but that's a good sign. So for you, that means movement. You don't have to feel like you're going to have to be on guard, and you've just got to now rest. Maybe the challenge could be that you rest too much and that you don't engage in your usual activities because you're like, oh my gosh, did I really get through all this? And remember, a battle is one of many in a war, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be fighting horrible things. This is one of the good cards that indicate that, you're doing really well along that journey. So now for your finances, we have the Three of Swords in reverse, which doesn't surprise me if you've got the Four of Swords and then we're moving to the Three. That means that things are becoming ameliorated, that the problem is subsiding, especially with the Three of Swords being in reverse. So for your finances, this is good. because it means that you don't need to change anything. You can continue along that path. Of course, I could see this also as, keep reducing your expenses. Don't incur any extraneous debt. Don't encumber yourself, or say you've got a property. Of course, you wouldn't want to do this during Mercury retrograde. I'm sure that real estate agents would just not like me saying this, but I'm, as the advisor, would tell people, now, not now, this time, that, forget about that. But I think that this is a good sign with your finances, that there's nothing that you need to change at this time, because financially problems from the Four of Swords to the Three in reverse are getting better. Oh man, and you're going to love this. So the Nine of Pentacles. Now the Nine of Pentacles for your romance, it sounds like it wouldn't be what you want, but it actually is. So if you're single, this means that you're happy and you're contented with what you've manifested, what you're creating in the physical. The seeds you've planted are growing. This is excellent for you. Even for romance, people that are together, partnered up, married, whatever, this is also good, because this indicates that you're not a codependent person. And for a Cancer, especially Cancer rising, while you're working through that, especially when you're very young, some people I've met, not Cancer risings, but Cancer suns who have a lot of difficulty. They find the Nine of Pentacles challenging because they can become so codependent on people. But for you, Cancer collective, I see this as an excellent sign, because the Nine of Pentacles, along with all this other good news, is that if you wanted to buy something that is easy to return or exchange, this would be the time, because you could probably get a really good deal. This shows that you're minding your interests, like your financial interests. And it again means to research retrograde, Mercury retrograde, research, Nine of Pentacles, research, that this is the time, to do the research, because the Nine of Pentacles is also a card that says, don't trust other people with your money, keep your own counsel, do your own research, etc. And I'm not saying that if you were in the middle of some, big negotiation, or if, like, say that you're in court for some reason, and let's just make up a scenario where you're taking somebody to small claims court. I'm not saying get rid of any counselors or advisors for this. I don't mean that, but it does mean that you need to be the final authority. This is also a card that can indicate some kind of an inheritance, or that you could be very lucky at games of chance, and that your investments will pay off. Now for the solution, again, yours is phenomenal. This is great, because I don't necessarily do these in order, so I've already seen like a mess, for some of the different signs that seem to continue to have some issues. Make sure they're not you, but you've got the 10 of Pentacles. So the solution, you don't have to worry about it, because this means that if because not everybody is financially solvent or having the best time financially. That would be ridiculous to assume this. This means that if you do need little help, it will be there. If you do need something to come toward you in the nick of time, it will be there. And the help or the alliance will last. This means, building your financial stability. Even if you're like, well, Rita, I've got nothing. Well, join the club. Nobody's got anything. And lots of people, better to not have anything than to have a bunch of debt. Trust me on this. It's better to just live modestly and be free as much as possible. Remain autonomous. And if you do have a lot of debt, rethink that. But the 10 of Pentacles really talks about planning for the long term. And it means doing the work the good old fashioned way. It means, for some people, if you play the stock market, and I really hate to say play the stock market, because that is not the vibe that I want to convey. But this is a card that says that you should plan to buy real estate. Don't do it now. It's of course always important that you buy real estate when it's a buyer's market and not the seller's market. And you do have to watch people, because you can meet some slimy people trying to I won't go there, but you really need to make sure that you are keeping your own counsel, while at the same time being mindful of having that long-term plan. Like if something sounds too good to be true, it is. If it takes a long time to do and the success is slow, it will be more stable. So this is also for those of you that are unemployed, that is suggesting that you not rush into any employment that seems like it's going to have too high a turnover. Look for something that's stable and survive as best as you can to do that. Now, during the Mercury retrograde, Mercury is famous at this time for jobs that we take and they don't end up being exactly what we were told, or the job description changes. Something about it changes or isn't what it was supposed to be in the beginning. That doesn't mean don't take a job. If you need a job, I'll take the jobs as they come at me. I may pick and choose if I think that there's something that could become far too complex, or I don't trust the people involved, that kind of thing. Take the work when you need to take the work is what I'm saying. But think long term. So let's get your weird oracles, because I'm so excited that you've got such a pretty reading that I don't want I don't want any of this crazy noise, because it's going to get weirder as you guys hear the next ones, because I've already seen it quite obviously. I'm on the back end. So we've got reunited, we are divided. So some of you really need to watch for those people coming in from the past, because, that's not a card that makes me think that it's a good idea. It's always best to leave the past where you left it, regardless of who left who did what. Just kind of leave it there. Somebody could come back, depending on your particular chart and where transiting Mercury is right now, where natal Mercury is right now. But for transiting astrology, Mercury is important to know that placement, and you have to know your exact birth time, place, all of that to do this correctly. So just kind of watch that, people from the past, maybe they want to come back in and say something, but this is a time that I wouldn't really, I would be even waiting to communicate, like not have any communications until the real blow ups come, when people are about to be leveled, which will be closer to the end of the month. And I'm not saying that we should hope for anybody to be leveled, but you would know who those people are that you don't trust already. And we have MSG, heart attack, broken heart. Somebody's got a broken heart over you, or you have a broken heart over somebody. And if you're in that vibration, I suggest you get out of that as quickly as possible and focus on the 9 of Pentacles. Your ex holds the key. For those of you that have an ex, perhaps the ex has the key that you need, or maybe there is some concern about renegotiating who owns the key, who owns the house, how do we divide these assets. If that's you, you would know who that is, but it looks like everything will work out fine. Also, we have, guests will be late. Flight diverted due to weather. You'll be safely moved out of the way. So I would take that as an indication that, the divine will assist in removing negative, low vibrational people out of your way. We have the pastor card. So you may be a pastor. You may know a pastor, or maybe you just feel pastoral. And we have, they're stuck. Toys, barrel of monkeys. It's all connected. So a reminder that everything is connected and interconnected, and there's nothing to worry about as long as you stay connected to the Most High, which is Jesus Christ, and remain in his vibration, and his angels are always going to protect you. And we have cookbook, missing a page, change in plans. So that just means that if something changes, go with the flow, remain in your 9 of Pentacles. But remember, the 9 of Pentacles is not stubborn because it's an earth element card. The 9 of Pentacles is about going with the flow and making changes where necessary. How do you think that garden is growing for the figure on the art? So anyway, you're doing good. Everything looks good for you as long as you are not in a low vibration. Everything will work out fine for you. Now, some of you are going to say, well, I'm having problems already. What do you know? Well, this is saying that things will work out. But of course, remember, remain in the highest vibration and things will work out for you. Take good care. God bless.
ما فرفوني إلى